you take it easy and be nice, boy. Drink your water, rest your eyes, it'll be alright, boy. Like you would that night. Sorry I ran off. Never got to be your lover. Wish I met you sooner. I feel you thinking about me. I hear your name in the breeze. You're all that I see. The birds singing melodies. Just remember you're all that I breathe. Remember all around me. The ocean, the sun, and the trees.
Oh, you're so sweet, I swear. Te mando un besito.
All right, cool. We're on Disco Acid Cult TV. Well, first things first, I guess, since I put it first in the title, Cynthia Erivo looks like fucking Skeletor. So, look, let's be real. Her being cast as Dracula. You know what? Actually, no. I was gonna say her being cast as Dracula is perfect, but actually, no. She should definitely not be Dracula. Dracula was kind of like a somewhat normal looking, he looked like a human. Cynthia Erivo would have been better cast as fucking Nosferatu. She would have done a lot better as Count Orlok than Dracula. So I guess never mind. I'm taking back everything I was gonna say. I was originally gonna get on here and talk about how I'm not a big Cynthia Erivo fan, but that this casting made sense. But I'm already taking it back now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more. She should have been Count Orlok in the Nosferatu movie we just got. That would have made way more sense. The funny thing is that it's a play, I guess, all the way in what, fucking 2026? I don't know why they're even announcing shit like this. But yeah, Cynthia Erivo, she's playing Dracula, but she's also playing every other role. This is a one-man play, a one-person play, and it is Cynthia Erivo. I've never seen a one-person play. I'm actually kind of curious to know how that works. I would imagine if you're gonna write a one-person play, that makes sense. Like, I could write a one-person play, like if you were gonna write the story yourself. But the fact that Dracula is already a story, that's I don't know. That's what I'm confused about. They're obviously gonna have to change some things around. If I was gonna write a play where I was the only person that starred in it, obviously you would just write a situation where there's never more than one person in the room, and the one person in the room is always you. But in Dracula, there's always there's often more than one person in the room at the same time. So I'm sure they're going out of their way to change a lot of things um to justify this casting they've done. I'm also not a big fan of plays in general. Well, you know what? I say that I've not seen a lot of plays, and it's been years. Like, I only ever saw plays when I was a young kid. I think I could get into certain plays if I saw the right one, you know. I think it could be interesting. This won't be the one. This Cynthia Erivo Dracula will not be the one that gets me into plays. I can guarantee you that. I think Cynthia Erivo's lame. Honestly, I think she's lame. I think Cynthia Erivo is, I mean, and I know I'm not the only one, dude. So this tweet by Bloody Disgusting, they're the tweet that I'm looking at with this announcement. If you go down to the tweets responding to it, you know what? Fuck it. Let me just pull this up. I'll just pull this up here. Throw myself down here in the corner. All the tweets, there's only 21 responses, but, the first one, she's gonna say the N-word as a white character to herself as another character, and it's gonna be weird. Next tweet, can she just go away, please? Ha 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 ha. Holy shit, good troll, guys. Do y'all and then here we have the person defending her. Do y'all just not like her because she's black? Or no, do you all just not like her because she's a black woman, or is there other reasons? There's always that one person. One to miss. This person says she played multiple roles in Poker Face. Should be interesting. I did not see Poker Face. Maybe I should check this out. Sounds like torture. Another defender that says these comments are not it. Flop. I'm so tired of her. Dracula musical. Here we go. Hard pass. What a joke. She sure does suck the life out of things. That's a good vampire pun. Oh my god, make it stop. LMAO. Yeah. So people are they're not into this. The Instagram was actually even funnier. Let me pull up the Bloody Disgusting Instagram. I think it was Bloody Disgusting. It might not have been. I'm gonna feel stupid if it's not. Oh yes, it is. Bloody Disgusting also posted it on Instagram. The comments here are a lot more lively. Let's see. I think I can pull up the Instagram without anything. I'm always worried about screen sharing and some delicate information popping up, but I think we're all right here. You can see my dashboard. I am on the Disco Acid Cold TV Instagram. Yeah, so right here, top comment, somebody saying, but why? Someone says, I love her, but Carmilla is right there. We don't need a female Dracula. That is also true. We don't need a female Dracula. We could do a female vampire. I mean, that'd just be like a succubus, right? Something along those lines. That's always kind of my thing. I'm not one to complain about woke movies. I really don't care about all that shit. But when it comes to the whole like race swapping and gender swapping and all that we see today, like, why don't you just write a new story? Why don't you just write a female vampire? That'd be pretty cool. Same with like the 007 argument. Like, okay, you want like a female 007? Just write a new story. Write about a female secret agent. That could be cool. Look how fucking stupid she looks. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. The hat. I mean, she's dressed like fucking a 2025 Dracula, but she looks like she's on like Jimmy Fallon or some shit. Like this is why people are tired of her, not because she is black or because she's a woman. People really don't give a fuck about that. They're tired of her because she just looks fucking retarded. You're indoors. Look at that hat. You're inside. What are you wearing an umbrella on your head for inside? I thought she shaves her head because she wants to be all fucking cool, but then she's got this fucking umbrella on her head inside. That's why people think she's obnoxious. Yeah, more comments. Anyone else getting Erivo fatigue? She's great, but does not need to be in everything. This person was even nice about it. I bet you people were arguing with her too. Yeah, see, people like you can't even say like a nice thing and then an honest thing. You know what I mean? Like you just have to be 1000% nice, or people in the comments will argue with you. Yeah, the Instagram comments are definitely more back and forth. Twitter just purely hated this idea, but the Instagram comments are more lively. Yeah, see why, though no one asked for this. The no one asked for this argument, I will say, is the worst when it comes to movies and any kind of media. Like, okay, no one really asked for anything. No one asked for shit. I hate that argument too. And people, when it comes to movies, when people go, "Oh, we didn't need that." Okay, that's my least favorite when it comes to Rob Zombie's Halloween movies, right? Oh, we didn't need Michael Myers' backstory. We don't need movies at all, motherfucker. If we don't need this as your argument, then you don't need anything but fucking what you need to live. So I don't like that argument. Yeah, no one asked for this. Yeah, I think this idea sounds fucking awful, but I'm not gonna say that nobody asked for it. Someone sounds kind of funny. Like, will she be running around the stage out of breath and changing costumes? I'd imagine they're gonna have to change the story pretty heavily. They'll have to change the story to where nobody is in the same room at the same time. At least that's how I imagine, I don't really understand how it's gonna have to work. And of course, the South Park joke. Yeah, so it's kinda obvious. People don't wanna see this. People are tired of this. I think Cynthia Erivo, I think she's what Hollywood wishes would become, like, the biggest star so that they could say, "Yeah, we did this." But they keep, like, Sydney Sweeney around. You know what I mean? Like, Sydney Sweeney and Jenna Ortega are the actresses that people actually like. Like, that's who people naturally gravitate toward to because, yes, humans do still recognize, like, attractive people, but, Hollywood will push people like Cynthia Erivo because they want her to be, like, the big thing, and there are plenty of people that will go along with it and just act like she is the coolest thing in the world, so that's fine. Everyone can like what they like. I just her as Dracula, no. No, it should have been Count Orlok. If they would have told me she was playing Nosferatu, I would have been on here saying, "Yeah, fuck yeah. That's a great idea." Because she is a perfect contender for the next Count Orlok. Dracula, I don't know. Dracula's a little too attractive, a little too handsome to be, played by Cynthia Erivo. They were almost there. They were almost there. I feel like if we didn't just get the new Nosferatu movie, they might have gotten there. They might have gotten there, but since we just got Nosferatu in theaters, they can't bust it back out this soon. So, that is kind of a bummer. The next thing I had going in order, um, just like a stupid thing that I thought was funny. I guess there's a net under the Golden Gate Bridge now. This is close to me. This is close to me. The Golden Gate Bridge is close to where I live, so I
Is this
I like how the guy's just laying there in defeat. Like, first of all, did you not see the net? Like, when you look, you don't look before you jump. You don't see that there's a net. And then people are saying, "Well, why didn't he just jump off the net?" One person says, "Because it wouldn't have killed him." To me, it doesn't look like the net is that far below the bridge. It looks like if he rolls off the net, he still might die. I can't really tell. You can't really tell from here. Yeah, it looks like it's pretty close to where he jumped from anyways. But then somebody else says, "Well, once you jump, all the adrenaline kind of works as a post-nut clarity." You hear those stories all the time from people that jump off of bridges, and as soon as people that survive jumping off a bridge, and as soon as they jump, they regret it. They start falling and they say, "Oh, fuck, this might have been a bad idea." So maybe that's what's going on. Maybe this guy landed on the net, and after that whole adrenaline, like I said, kind of working as a post-nut clarity, now this guy's just laying here in absolute shame, by the way. Absolute shame. Look at this man. This man is embarrassed. I would have rolled off the net. I don't care. I would have rolled off the net. You're getting recorded nowadays. It's 2025. Somebody pulled out their iPhone. I would have just rolled off the net, even if I didn't die, just to get off this guy's camera. This guy's probably crying too. Yeah, that's probably what's going on. He's probably crying. Probably fucking humiliated. I feel this guy. I feel for this guy. When I say I feel for this guy, I mean, I wish there was no net. I feel bad for this guy. I also would like to jump off the Golden Gate Bridge. But I hear the water's cold, so that makes me a little nervous. I don't really like being in cold water. Jumping off a bridge into water probably sucks. There's a couple things. There's a couple of ways it goes down. It sounds like you either land and immediately die, or you land and you break all your bones, but you don't die. But then you're gonna sink. And since your bones are all broken, you can't swim. So that way it sounds like you just drown. And to me, that sounds terrible. That sounds like the worst option. Just you break all your bones and then you just you just drown in cold water. That sounds terrible. And knowing my luck, I'd be the guy that would like land on my legs or something. My legs would like shoot up through my shoulders, and then I would just sink and drown and be really cold. What did I put in the title next? God damn it. Theo Von. Theo Von's chokehold. This is probably my favorite video I've seen in a while. There's like no context in this. It's just a TMZ video. I don't know what's going on, but I just think it's funny. I'm just gonna roll with the idea that somebody pissed off Theo Von bad enough to have him. This guy's got balloons, right? Who knows? What are the balloons for? There's our boy Theo Von. Turns around. Boom, gets him in the Undertaker. The Undertaker, like when the Undertaker is going for a choke slam on somebody and he holds him there for a minute. And then he pushes him away real quick. He does kind of, I don't know, body language. He really does look like he's kind of pissed. I don't think you can hear really anything. Yeah, Theo Von even did the hat thing. You know, like when guys get mad and they lift up the hat real. You got the hat, you lift it up, and you just put it right back on real quick, kind of readjusting it. What's crazy about this is that Theo Von has to be like the most relaxed. I don't know. From the impression that I get, you know, obviously I don't know the guy, but what do you have to do to piss off Theo Von this bad that he's going to choke slam you? You know, like I don't get the impression that he's an easy guy to piss off, unless he's on the, you know, unless he's on the cocaine as he talks about on the show. But I don't think he is. I don't know. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised though. I wouldn't be surprised if he is. I'm not saying, I'm not getting on here and saying Theo Von's back on the cocaine. I'm just saying either he's either in this video, he's on the cocaine, or this guy must have really fucked up real bad to get this kind of rage out of Theo Von. That seems kind of crazy. The thing that's funny is Theo Von, I don't think anybody would ever be mad at him for anything. I think Theo Von could legitimately, what's that thing that Trump said, like he could shoot somebody on the street in broad daylight and people wouldn't care? That's not true. Donald Trump can't fart without the whole entire world being mad at him. But Theo Von could shoot somebody. Theo Von could have shot this guy on camera. And it would take like 5 minutes on his show, like of an explanation. And I think people would be over it. I would imagine, I would imagine he'll talk about this, right? Like this is on TMZ. Like he's got to talk about this. There'll be a clip. The next YouTube show, he'll do like a 5 minutes, like, yeah, here's what was going on. You know, there's no way he's not going to. He's got to say something about it. And it'll be easy. I can't imagine a world where anybody is ever mad at Theo Von. You know, I don't think anybody could ever be mad at this guy. I just want to know what that guy said to him. I don't know. Maybe Theo Von just doesn't like balloons. I used to have a dog that was afraid of balloons. It was always funny. She was like the coolest dog ever, but she was terrified of balloons. So whenever I had balloons, you know, I'd get them close to her. She'd get all nervous and run away. I don't know why. You know, she was scared of the vacuum too, of course, but all dogs are afraid of the vacuum. But balloons, yeah, that was a weird one. She was very afraid of balloons. All right, well, those are two quick clips. What's next? King of the Hill. King of the Hill. Dear God. Oh yeah, we're getting King of the Hill. King of the Hill reboot. Looks like they're calling it a revival series. I'm not excited for this. I'll be honest. I'm the negative guy. Start off the show, we talk about Cynthia Erivo and how she sucks, and Dracula's gonna suck, and now I'm getting into King of the Hill and how it's gonna suck, and I'm a big fan of the original King of the Hill. The original King of the Hill is awesome. I love the original King of the Hill. The thing is, even the fact that Dale has the vape in this, like, I get it, because Dale was, like, the wannabe technology guy. You know what, never mind, I won't complain about the vape. I won't yet, because it makes sense. Dale would be the guy that tries to get into vapes. I will say it is actually kinda funny, it looks like he's got the big box vape, which I don't think those are a thing anymore, like, the big customizable box vapes, that was a thing in, like, the early 2010s, mid to late. It was, like, early to mid 2010s, I think, that's when my buddy used to have one of those. So that is kind of a funny detail, because to me, that implies that Dale, although he wants to be up to date with the technology, he is behind on the times. Like, it's, "Hey, buddy, we're all done with the big box, customized vapes." But, it looks like he still has one, and I could be wrong, that could just be how they drew it. I don't know shit about vapes anyways. I've spent, like, the last 3 streams talking about how I smoke cigarettes because vapes are gay. Grown men should not be smoking vapes. Grown men should be smoking cigarettes, and I mean every grown man should smoke cigarettes. I strongly stand by that. If you wanna be a grown-ass man, you need to start smoking cigarettes. I don't care if they're Camels, I don't care if they're Marlboros, but once you turn 18, that's what you gotta start doing. So the thing that's funny is the original King of the Hill was like, of course, people are already talking about how this new King of the Hill is gonna be woke, which again, I think is so fucking goofy. Like, shut up. Shut up. You don't even know what woke is anymore. There's not even like a singular definition for the word woke. I'm old enough to remember when woke meant you didn't believe the official narrative of 9/11. That's what woke used to mean, right? That's what I always thought. If you were woke, it just meant you didn't believe 9/11. You thought America got into World War II on purpose. Like, that's what you thought woke was, or that's what woke used to be anyways. But so now people are complaining, this new King of the Hill is gonna be woke. And it'll probably be gay as fuck. Let's be real. It will probably be gay as fuck. The thing about the old King of the Hill, the original King of the Hill, was that the original King of the Hill was progressive, I guess, if that's like a better term to use. Like, there were like instances where, like, I don't know, Hank might be freaked out by something. They might be a little too progressive for him. But then the resolution of the show would be that Hank finds out he's okay with this because Hank is like an accepting, loving dude. I can't think of any plots off the top of my head, but just like as an example that I'm thinking of, maybe in like the beginning of the episode, I don't know, Hank might get into some problem with a gay dude. But then like mid to late episode, Hank would be like, "Oh, you know what? Actually, he's a human who's just like me, and I can still get along with him and everything's all good." But this show will probably push it. That's gonna be my problem with it, is that the show will push it, because that's what they do now. They push it. They don't understand subtlety and like nuance. You know, the original King of the Hill was very subtle, perfectly subtle, like artistically subtle with its progressive qualities or messages or whatever you want to call it. It was like the perfect amount. It was Hank is still a redneck. Hank is still definitely a Republican Texan, whatever the fuck you want to call him. But he is also a human being, with a good heart. He accepts all humans for who they are. But this new one's gonna push it. I'm curious to see how they handle old characters. How are they gonna handle John Redcorn? What are they gonna do with John Redcorn? What are they gonna do with the neighbor? I don't remember the neighbor's name. That's mostly what I'd be curious about, is what are they gonna do with the stuff that, today would be termed, has aged poorly or is outdated, which are things that I don't believe in when it comes to art. Like I said before, art does not age. Doesn't age at all, that's the thing about art. Doesn't age, you age. But, it could be good. It could be good if they keep it subtle like they did in the original series. 'Cause like I said, the original series was just as progressive as people, want everyone to be today. So that's what I do think is funny about people, crying that the original is woke. There are a lot of people commenting, "Oh, this is gonna be woke," and then there's people that are saying, "Did you watch the original King of the Hill?" Like, it was also, the original wasn't, woke. I keep having to do the air quotes because I hate using that fucking word, but I use it just because that's what all you motherfuckers use. But yeah, people are saying, "Have you seen the original?" The original was also very progressive in many ways, and that is true. But like I said, there has to be a good amount of it. It can't just be entirely all about that kind of stuff. You know what I think the perfect example is? I noticed this recently. I was rewatching clips from Fresh Prince of Bel Air, one of the greatest shows of all time. And I realized that Fresh Prince of Bel Air used to tackle, they used to get into race pretty often because, of course, it was like a black sitcom. I don't even know if that's the right term to use, but there was kind of that trend going on at the time. You had Fresh Prince of Bel Air. You had what's the one with Steve Urkel that I can't remember off the top of my head. But okay, so Fresh Prince of Bel Air, they tackled like I don't want to say racism like from into all different angles. But so for example, they have the episode where the police officers pull over Will and Carlton for driving too slow, and then they arrest them and accuse them of stealing the car that they're driving, when in reality, the car is, it belongs to, like, their dad's, it belongs to Uncle Phil's partner, like, he asked them to drive the car. So that gets into, white police accusing young black men of crimes, things like that, profiling and whatnot. Well, then there's the episode about, um one of Will's aunts is getting married to a white guy, and Will's mom has a huge problem with this, and she straight up is like, "No, she's not part of the family. We're not gonna be associated with her. She's gonna go marry this fucking white guy." And then there's the episode where Will and Carlton are looking to join a fraternity, and it's an all black fraternity, and Will gets in, but they don't accept Carlton. And the fraternity guy straight up says that Carlton is not the right type of black. He's not black enough. He doesn't act the right way. So Fresh Prince of Bel Air tackled, that's what I'm saying. They tackled race on like all different, from into like all different angles and directions. Today, if Fresh Prince of Bel Air was made today, you would just get the episode where the police arrest Will and Carlton over and over and over again. That would be the only episode they do. And that would be the only type of racism that they tackle. So I think that's like the best example for what I hope King of the Hill doesn't do. I hope, the new King of the Hill continues handling things as subtly as they did in the original. I hope they don't do what I think a modern day Fresh Prince of Bel Air would do. Man, yeah, that first, or not that first, but Fresh Prince of Bel Air was just a great show. That was a great show. I found like clips from all those episodes randomly too. I was just going through random clips on YouTube. And yeah, I found clips from all three of those episodes. Them getting arrested for stealing a car, Will's aunt marrying the white guy, and then Carlton not getting into the fraternity because he's not black enough. I was like, oh fuck, the show really did racism, like all different types of racism. Like it wasn't just white cops arresting young black men over and over and over again. There's that episode where Will gets shot too. That's a great episode. Carlton gets a gun, and Will has to take the gun from Carlton. That's a great episode. Great episode. That's a great show. I need to buy that series. Lately, I've been rewatching a lot of that '70s show. That's been the series I've been kind of back on lately, but just clips. I haven't watched the whole thing. What did I have next? What did I have next? What did I have next? But yeah, the new King of the Hill, it could go either way. I have my assumption of which way I think it will go, but It could go either way. It could be good. It could be bad. There's a guy who was a writer on the original King of the Hill. I think it's like Michael Jamin, which is an awesome name. If your last name is Jamin, your mother married right. That's what I have to say about that. And I think he does. I think he was just a writer on a couple seasons of King of the Hill, and he teaches like screenwriting or like gives tips and stuff on YouTube. And I used to watch that guy a lot. He's pretty cool. I like him. Oh yeah, the Menendez brothers. That's what I had. I don't think I have clips on my computer though, or links to articles. I think they might be on my phone. Let me see. Yeah, no, but I can just look it up. I think there's like a CNN article. So the Menendez brothers were resentenced yesterday, I think it was. Yeah, it looks like it was yesterday. Judge resentenced Eric and Lyle Menendez to 50 years to life in prison for the 1989 murders of their parents, ruling Tuesday the brothers will be eligible for parole. The brothers have been serving life without parole for the killings. Stunning decision, Cave. It's not that stunning, let's be real. It's not a stunning decision. I think we all knew this was coming. It seems like Netflix has a lot of power in what happens with these cases now. Anybody in prison who's looking to get out needs to start working on getting a Netflix documentary made, because that seems to be the way to go about it these days. If you make a Netflix documentary, anything is possible. And I'm not saying I disagree with this decision at all. I'm actually kind of torn. I understand it from like I know people who say both. They say no, they should not be getting out or, even possibly paroled. And I've got people here saying, yeah, they should be getting out. Some people want them out, like fucking yesterday. But the thing that's funny is that as of right now, they're not actually getting out. As of right now, all that's happening is they're now up for parole. Like they can possibly get parole. It would be hilarious and comical if they go into the parole board and parole says, you know what? No, stay in prison. Or what would be even funnier, what would be great comedy is if the parole board says, yeah, sure, we'll give you parole. And then Gavin Newsom comes out and says, you know what? No, never mind. Kind of like what just happened to Bobby Beausoleil. Bobby Beausoleil, related to the Manson story, has been in prison since I think like 69. I think he's been in prison since 69. If not, then definitely 1970. But the parole board just a couple months ago said, yeah, we'll give you parole. We'll let you go. And just a couple days ago, Gavin Newsom came out and said no. He is overturning it. Which is crazy, honestly, because Leslie Van Houten just got out, and if you believe the official story, I've talked about this a million times. I don't. The story is not the real story. But if you believe the official story, which is the story that Gavin Newsom is, of course, going on, Leslie Van Houten was there and participated in the murders of the LaBiancas. So for Newsom to say, yeah, sure, we'll let Leslie Van Houten go, but not Bobby Beausoleil, that makes no sense to me. I guess you could argue that Bobby Beausoleil, single-handedly murdered a person, whereas Leslie Van Houten was part of a group that murdered two people. I don't know. To me, that kind of screams a little bit of, I don't know. I don't want to say it screams, if you're a woman, we'll let you out. But, I'm not part of the parole board. I guess that probably has a lot to do with the two. I don't really know how this goes. I would imagine Gavin Newsom has to at least sit down and watch, like, some of, the testimony these people give to the parole board. before he makes his decision. But then again, it's Gavin Newsom, so I don't know. He could just sniff up his 2 lines of cocaine and then say, "Nah, don't let him out," or like, "Yeah, sure, let him out." But anyways, yeah. If California wants to do some real Saturday Night Live worthy comedy, they should let these guys get in front of the parole board and then tell them no. Be like, "Oh, you know what? Never mind. We're gonna make you stay." No, I think what's gonna happen, obviously, is they're gonna go see the parole board pretty soon, and they're gonna get let go. I think they're gonna get out because there's no way the judge resentences them, and then parole board doesn't let them out. A lot of people are acting like this is straight up, like this is the moment, like uh, Annie sent me this link yesterday, and she said they're getting out. And then I read the article and I was like, "No, they're not getting out. They just now they can get parole." Like this isn't saying they can, it literally says opening the door for parole, possible parole. But like I said, I think it's obvious that that's the direction that we're going in. There's no way a parole board's going to tell them no, especially after a snazzy Netflix documentary. They're also seeking clemency from the governor, which could allow for their immediate release, and they have filed a habeas petition for a new trial. I don't know what a clemency is. This is when I wish I had like a booming chat that could tell me what these things are, but since nobody likes the channel yet, I'll look it up. Mercy or lenience. So what they're asking the governor for mercy or lenience? I don't really know. Wouldn't that just be the same as parole? Like what do you want, like a hug and a kiss from Gavin Newsom on your way out the door? I don't know. I don't know how this works. It's now up to the parole board and the governor of California. The parole board could either deny their request or recommend to the governor that they be granted parole. The board recommends parole be granted. The decision will go to Governor Gavin Newsom. Yeah, and if your name is Bobby Beausoleil, nah, you're not getting out. You're staying in. No, they're gonna get let go because after that documentary, all anybody cares about is how they were treated by their parents, which is fine. Like I said, that's fine. That's fine to make that your main focus. Their dad was obviously a fucking weirdo. Their mom was obviously a fucking weirdo. But Newsom's not gonna want to be seen as the guy that has no sympathy for abuse victims. That's the main thing about it. Newsom's gonna let him go because he doesn't want the reputation of the guy who was mean to abuse victims. That's where it's gonna go. That's the reason he won't let out Bobby Beausoleil, because he doesn't want to be seen as the guy who let, this guy that was related to Charles Manson go. Because he's a dude, like I said, I can't really square that away. The fact that he wouldn't let Bobby Beausoleil go, but he'd let Leslie Van Houten go. And I think we're getting what's her name? Patricia Krenwinkel. Yeah, she's got to be getting parole hearing sometime soon. Another parole hearing. And she's the last one, or she's the last girl. Oh yeah, May 30th, 2025. So coming up here pretty soon, we're gonna get Patricia Krenwinkel's next parole hearing. So that'll be curious. That'll be an interesting case, because if they let Patricia Krenwinkel go, I'm sure some people will be saying, "Why didn't you let Bobby Beausoleil go?" And why did you let? The thing is, with the Manson people, they're all so clumped together in the eyes of the world. People that basically don't know the real story. I don't want to sound arrogant, but people that don't know the real story in the way that I and like a small population of people do. So it's weird to let any one of them out without any of the others. Like, why are you letting out Van Houten, but you're not letting out Beausoleil? And now if they let Krenwinkel go, they're gonna say, "Why didn't you let Beausoleil out?" And if you don't let Krenwinkel go, they're gonna say, "Why did you let Van Houten go?" So I was kind of surprised. But Bobby Beausoleil is also probably like the least known character of the story, which is funny because he committed the first murder. Like he was the first murder that set off the chain of events. Um, in that whole story. All right, I had one more that I didn't get to squeeze into the title. But I've never talked about the Diddy stuff. I've never really been interested in the Diddy stuff except for today. There are these two clips that are basically like a summary of the trial. The first 2 days of trial just happened, I think it was. Let me see if I can find these again. Some guy on Instagram did like a really good. Yeah, here we go. Let's see.
Yesterday. So the Diddy trial started yesterday, and they brought in one of the male escorts as a witness, and boy, did he share some crazy details. We were told that this male escort was actually a stripper, and he was approached to come and basically do some woman in front of her husband. The woman, of course, was Cassie. The husband was Diddy. They said Diddy was just sitting in the corner in a white robe with a scarf around his face and a hat. Thank you. He said there was never any protection involved. And at one point, he asked to see Cassie's medical records. He never saw them. I thought it was a little weird, though, because it sounded like he had fucked her raw a few times before he asked to see her papers. He said sometimes it would just be him doing Cassie. Sometimes it would be him and Diddy doing Cassie. Sometimes there would be other men in there. He said these sessions could last anywhere between 1 hour and 10 hours. Sometimes he'd get a few $100s, sometimes a few $1,000s. You just never knew. He said it would be some days he would go over there and he would just know he wasn't the first one. I guess it wasn't gripping the way it's supposed to. But he may have been like the third, fourth, or fifth for that day. He was always instructed to finish inside of her. And when he would do that, Cassie and Diddy would go into a separate room and do God knows what. And he said one time he faked it and just pretended like he finished. And then Diddy and Cassie went into the other room. And then Diddy came back out like, hey, are you sure you did the do? So I guess him finishing inside of her was very important. It sounds like there was some snowballing going on. And I don't know how to explain what snowballing is without getting my account banned. So y'all might just have to run to Google for that one. But yeah, that was day one. It was very heavy. Also, his kids were in there while all this was coming out. And they played the video of him beating Cassie a million times. Day two is today. I'm sure we'll hear some more details. And, I'll be back to let y'all know what happened. So.
This guy is awesome. This is how you make content. This is why I'm not famous and this guy is. What is it? Tyreek told you? Yeah, that's fantastic. That's a perfect content creator right there, if that's the term you like to use. The hip hop and rap world, I guess. I think that's what I would, that's where Diddy, I would say, comes from. It just seems so weird. Just seems so strange. I want to know why he's wearing a scarf around his face while this dude's banging his wife. Dude, there was so much in that 1 minute video that I can't even remember everything of what he said. I think we're all curious to know what was Diddy doing in the room with his wife with the fresh bust inside of her. I'm sure that's pretty obvious, especially if Diddy's coming back in saying, hey, it's not in there. Dude, imagine, I don't know, how do you find yourself in one of those situations? You're a male stripper, right? Even that alone, you're probably, all right, I got some college debt to pay off. I've got a six pack, I've got good abs, so I can probably make some money being a male stripper, Some old ladies will come in and give me some 20s, And then, well, one day Diddy just walks in and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna change your life." Cassie is hot too. Like that is one thing. Cassie is hot. So, you can't blame this male escort or male stripper. Did he say escort? I didn't even know there was such a thing as male escorts. But yeah, Cassie's hot. If Diddy came to me with a couple hundred or a couple thousand and said, "Hey, I need you to bang this girl," and it was that girl Cassie, I mean, yeah, I'm not saying no. I don't even know anybody who's saying no. Yeah, the Diddy case was never interesting to me. It just wasn't. Until I saw these 2 clips, and then I thought, "Oh, this is actually pretty hilarious." But, I just don't really understand, or I don't wanna say I don't understand why people are so interested in this. To me, it just seems like it's, like, not surprising. Okay, look, I've got, of course, more Charles Manson related things to say about this story, and I know those seem like 2 unrelated stories, but they're not unrelated. Let me pull up this other guy that talks about day 2, and it looks like he talks about day 3 too, which must have just been recently put up. These videos are a little louder. Tell me, well, no one's actually watching this shit. I was gonna say, tell me if it's too loud, but whatever. I'll listen to it.
Cassie just testified in court, and what she said about Diddy's freak-offs left the courtroom stunned. Now, there's no cameras allowed inside the courtroom, so I'm here to give you your day 2 update. So the jury was shown the 2016 surveillance footage of Diddy grabbing, kicking, dragging Cassie in the hotel hallway, and they described that she was speaking in a very soft voice, barely above a whisper. When asked how many times he had attacked her like that, she responded, "Too many times to count." She described how Diddy's demeanor would change instantly, how his eyes would go black before he became violent. Then came the most disturbing part of Cassie's testimony, the freak-offs. Cassie testified that Diddy would drug her so heavily that she would feel like throwing up while being forced to engage with intimate acts with multiple escorts he arranged. She said that this was part of his fantasy. He would direct everything. She'd be so high she could barely function. She described one night where he had an inflatable pool filled entirely with baby oil. Diddy reportedly ordered the oil to be reheated and reapplied every 5 minutes. She also testified that she was urinated on not just by Diddy, but by other men involved. There are other details that she said that I really can't say on here, they're just sickening. But the first time it happened, he made her wear a masquerade mask and told her to call him by whatever she called her grandfather. Super weird. Over time, she said these freak-offs took over her life, that music wasn't her focus anymore. She was constantly expected to change her look, her style, whatever matched Diddy's fantasy at the time. She said it felt like a job, that she became a prop. Again, this trial is not televised, but what's coming out of this courtroom is very dark.
I hate that they have to use the term freak off in these like very serious situations because I'm laughing. Like this guy's sitting here talking about freak offs and I'm laughing, but then he's talking about this guy having dudes piss on his wife, and I'm like, oh, I'm not supposed to be laughing. But they're calling it a fucking freak off, dude. It sounds like this guy really does have a weird thing for the baby oil thing. I don't really understand that. I don't know. Is it like a texture thing? Is it like a, he said he wanted it heated up every 5 minutes. What are they doing with it? I would assume he was putting baby oil in places that it shouldn't be going, like places that would be unhealthy for a girl to have baby oil in, things like that. But yeah, it sounds like Diddy should have just been a porn director. Like that's what it sounds like. It sounds like his true calling was just being a director of pornography, and he just somehow got stuck being a rapper, or I don't really consider him a rapper, a pop singer. Um, so maybe there's a sad story. I'm kidding. I was gonna say maybe there's a sad story here. Maybe there was a man who was born to do something, and nobody realized his potential as a porn director, and so he took it out on his wife or whatever. But, yeah, no, it sounds like he wanted to be a porn director. God, this guy's fucking weird. Okay, there's one more. Yeah, I didn't know we got day 3 footage, but it looks like we got, someone talking about day 3. So I guess we'll pop this up real quick.
Day 3 of the P. Diddy trial is officially over, and Cassie, Diddy's ex-girlfriend, took the stand once again, this time talking about the years of abuse that she endured. There are no cameras allowed inside, so every single day I'm gonna give you guys an update. Cassie said the first time Diddy got violent with her was in 2007 when she was just 21 years old, and it was because she allegedly was flirting with someone inside of a restaurant. But when they got back to the car, Diddy hit her on the side of the head and knocked her to the ground. In another incident, it looks like this happened quite often. She said they were riding in an Escalade when Diddy's eyes turned black, something she claimed always happened before he snapped, and he stomped on her face with his foot. She said when she looked in the mirror afterward at home, she didn't even recognize herself. The night of the Prince party, the singer, rest in peace, Cassie said she was invited to an exclusive event at Prince's house in LA where he performed in his basement. She didn't tell Diddy because she knew he wouldn't let her go, but she showed up anyway. The moment she saw him, he showed up unexpectedly. She ran as fast as she could. She fell into a bush on the way out, and later that night at the hotel, she says Diddy caught up to her and beat her. She also talked about the Kid Cudi incident. I'm sure most of you know about this, but she said during a freak off, Diddy found out about her and Kid Cudi. I guess they had some type of relationship, but he immediately lunged at her in rage. Afterward, he told her he was going to blow up Kid Cudi's car, and not long after, Cudi's car actually exploded in his driveway, something Cudi confirmed himself. This trial just gets darker and darker every single day, so
look, if I'm in my like wannabe shock jock mode, I'm saying, yeah, if my girl's flirting with a guy in a restaurant too, I'm also punching her in the side of the head and knocking her to the ground. And if my girl is also sneaking off to Prince parties, I'm also whooping that ass. But when I switch back over to serious mode, yeah, this guy Diddy is just fucking weird. This guy's super weird. Day 1 and day 2 sound like the weirdest though. It sounds like day 3 was mostly just about his violent, like his temper. Blowing up Cudi's car, that's badass. That's actually awesome. That's cool shit. I gotta hand it to any guy that can blow up. The thing is, like, do you think Diddy like has to pay somebody? Do you think he pays somebody to go like blow up somebody's car? Or do you think he himself is like sneaking around at 2 a.m. in like Kid Cudi's driveway, you know, putting like explosive devices under his car? That's what I'm curious about. Do you pay people to blow up Kid Cudi's car, or do you do it yourself? Especially if you're Diddy. The thing is, none of this Diddy stuff is surprising to me because I have read up on the Charles Manson story. Like it's all this is all just Hollywood. Like the Kid Cudi. Diddy is not the only guy acting like this. Like at this very moment in Hollywood, there are probably at least like 20 other celebrities doing this exact stuff. Like right now, as I'm talking into this microphone. That's Hollywood. You know? That's why I think it's funny that so many people are, like, shocked at all this, like, "Oh my god, Diddy's got guys pissing on his wife." Dude, look at the real Manson story, and look at, like read about, like, the weird stuff that Sharon Tate was doing with, like, animals and children, like, underage kids, and, like, Jay Sebring, and, you know, their, like, weird bondage deal, and, like, this is what happens, you know? I think people just don't like to think about their favorite artists, like, being weirdos. You know, I don't know, like, Leonardo DiCaprio probably has a snake wrapped around his limp penis right now as we're speaking. You know, there's weird shit going on right now in Hollywood for sure. Leonardo DiCaprio probably has a 19-year-old girl wrapping a live snake around his limp wiener at this very moment. I would read that and not you just wouldn't be surprised. It's not surprising. Like, yeah, these people do weird shit. What else do you do? What else do you do when you're that rich? You know? That's why rich people do weird shit. Because you've already ridden every ride in the world. You've already driven every car in the world. You've already fucked every pretty girl in the world. What else are you gonna do? You're gonna pay dudes to piss on your girlfriend, and you're gonna host freak offs. You're gonna invent the term freak off, first of all. The freak off thing is just, oh my god. I can't do it with that term, freak off. They gotta stop using that term. Because these are, like, serious videos, they've got the dark, creepy music. They're like, "Yeah, Diddy punched his girlfriend in the face until she was unconscious, and then the next night at the freak off," and I'm like, "Oh my god, you just stop, just call it a party. Please stop calling it a freak off." I don't care that Diddy called them freak offs. Don't call them that, I can't handle it. I should change the name of this YouTube channel to, I don't know, Disco Freak Off TV. Disco Freak Off Cult TV. That's what we'll be Disco Freak Off Cult TV. Jesus Christ. Yeah, no, the guy's clearly a fucking weirdo, but it's not surprising. Like, I don't know why people are this naive. People really are this naive, though. If you go, again, specifically with the Manson case, that you have a lot of Sharon Tate fan pages, and I'm a big fan of Sharon Tate. I love Sharon Tate. I love Valley of the Dolls and the Wrecking Crew. Sharon Tate is, I think, the prettiest girl to ever have walked the earth. But you can also acknowledge that these people are fucking freaks. Like, that's what money does to you. I don't understand why people are so, like, stubborn to accept these facts. Like, dude, your favorite celebrities are weirdos. Your favorite artists are freaks. Will Ferrell is probably, like, doing weird shit with a zebra tomorrow night. Like, Will Ferrell's schedule probably has a zebra somewhere involved within the next week. John Cena is probably, I don't know, like, John Cena is probably having sex in a car in the back roads with some 21-year-old girl right now. Like, none of the stuff is surprising. You guys are all retarded. You guys are all fucking retarded if you think that everybody in Hollywood is just doing good stuff all the time. You think they're all just donating to charity and taking naps all day and watching Food Network? You think Brad Pitt just lays around watching Family Feud and diners, drive-ins, and dives all day? Whatever the fuck that show's called. Guy Fieri, dude, that guy's probably a fucking animal. Dude, I hooked up with a girl. I used to hook up with this girl for a couple months. Her mom, I think it was like her mom knew Guy Fieri, and one time, Guy texted her. I don't even remember, some weird shit about how, like, Guy Fieri was, like, redoing his backyard, and he wanted it to look kinda like wilderness-ish. He wanted it to look, like, woodsy, and he wanted a bunch of, like, wild cats. Dude, I swear to God, I can't remember what the fuck this was, but so Guy Fieri texted this girl's mom, this girl I was hooking up with, texts her mom. It's like asking her if she knows where to get, like, dude, it was like some ridiculous number, like fucking like 22 wild cats or something. And there was something specific in there, like they need to be wild cats, but they need to be like somewhat trained. It's just weird shit. Like, that's what celebrities do. Celebrities do weird shit. They have freak offs. They want 22 wild cats in their backyard. They're wrapping snakes around their penises. They're doing it with 19-year-old girls in cars, in restaurant parking lots. They're doing stuff with dogs on the weekends. Will Ferrell is doing weird shit with exotic animals. This is just normal for Hollywood. This is normal for Hollywood. Like I said, what else are you gonna do? You've tried every alcoholic beverage in the world. You've tried every drug that's ever been created by a doctor. Okay, well, what's next? Oh, I don't know. I'll try car sex with some girl that I just picked up on the side of the road. But people have this weird stubborn feeling when it comes to accepting that celebrities do weird shit. Like I was starting to say, all these Sharon Tate fan pages. If you go on any Sharon Tate fan Instagram page and you say anything, like anything remotely, like anything about, like, oh, Sharon Tate used to do some weird stuff with Jay Sebring, they'll flip out on you. Like, they'll flip out on you and freak out. No, dude, she was an angel. She would have never, like, dude, you can tell them, like, I don't know, you could tell them, like, Sharon Tate was a little too gassy on Sunday mornings, and they'll be like, "How dare you say that about her? How dare you say that?" Like, dude, what do you expect that these celebrities are doing with their fucking free time? They're having freak offs, that's what they're doing. They're having freak offs, they're paying dudes to piss on their girlfriends. Their, their girlfriends are sneaking off to parties at Prince's house. Dude, that's the only one that I'm just saying. You all know you'd be insecure as fuck if your girlfriend snuck off to a party at Prince's house. Come on. Come on. What are you doing? What are you doing? Let's say Prince is still alive today, and, you know, you're dating some girl, you've been with her for, like, 2 months, right? This is a new girl. And somebody tells you, "Oh, you know, I know that girl. I saw her at a party at Prince's house a couple months ago." Okay, she was fucking Prince. Like, her was in the room with Prince, and he didn't fuck her. It's Prince. Of course, this girl fucked Prince at this party, you know? Prince probably dude, people think Diddy invented the freak off. Dude, Prince probably actually invented the freak off. Either Prince or David Bowie. One of those 2. David Bowie's got this really good song, what's it called? China Girl? Yeah, my mom showed me this song. David Bowie's got this really good song called China Girl. And, I guess more proof that all celebrities are just freaks. Let's see the lyrics to China Girl. I could escape this feeling with my China Girl. I feel a wreck without my little China Girl. I hear her heart beat loud as thunder. Saw the stars crashing. I'm a mess without my little China Girl. Wake up in the mornings. Where's my little China Girl? It's a great song, though, dude. It's an awesome song. I'm feeling tragic, like I'm Marlon Brando when I look at my China Girl. I could pretend that nothing really meant too much when I look at my China Girl. Ah, such a beautiful song. But I bet you he met this little China girl at a freak off. Dude, you guys think Diddy invented the freak off? That's just not how it, you know. Every so often, Hollywood sacrifices somebody. That's what happens. That's what happened to Harvey Weinstein. Right? Hollywood is the land of debauchery and sin. Not to use like a, you know, I'm not a Christian. That's an appropriate word. Hollywood is like the land of sin and debauchery and, you know, doing weird sex stuff. That's what Hollywood is for. But now that technology is so far, you know, so advanced, there's cameras everywhere, you can't really do anything. You know, someone's gonna get caught up. And Hollywood has to sacrifice somebody once in a while just to say, "Hey, you know, don't look over here. Look at the fat guy, Harvey Weinstein. Look at the rapper, Diddy." There's nothing new. Dude, in like 10 years, we'll have another one. In like 10 years, there'll be another, you know, it'll be like a, I don't know, some other movie producer. You know, they've got to throw somebody into the fire every so often just to get us to not look at them. Because no one else ever goes down. You know, that's the thing. Harvey Weinstein, everyone knew about Harvey Weinstein. In like the early 2000s, Courtney Love was on video talking about Harvey Weinstein doing weird shit with actors and actresses in his hotel rooms. You know, we have clips of LeBron James talking about going to Diddy parties, and you know they all know, but only one of them ever goes down at a time. You know, if we really got the whole truth, like there'd be no celebrities or Hollywood left because they all do weird shit. And I don't care. I don't care who you like. I don't care who you like. That's what I think is funny when people try to virtue signal or when people try to, you know, tell you that, oh, you know, you shouldn't watch this movie because of this guy, or you shouldn't watch that movie because of that guy. Dude, they're all doing weird shit. No, they're all of them. I don't care who it is. I love Sydney Sweeney. I love Jenna Ortega. They've all probably done weird shit. They've all probably wrapped a snake around Leonardo DiCaprio's penis before. Like on a Friday night, Leonardo DiCaprio walked in with his limp wiener at a live snake and said, "Hey, Jenna, will you wrap this around my wiener?" She said, "Yeah, I got you." You guys are retarded. You guys are retarded if you think I'm lying. But they gotta sacrifice somebody. That's what has to happen. They have to sacrifice somebody every once in a while just to make you think that they're, just to make you think that they're virtuous, I guess that's the word. And the thing that's funny is they'll make a movie about Diddy too in like 5 years. They made that movie. They made like a whole Me Too movie, I think in like 2022. They made a legitimate Hollywood production movie about the two girls that broke the Harvey Weinstein story as if they really discovered anything. 'Cause the thing is, back in the Manson days, in the 60s, there wasn't cameras everywhere. Hugh Hefner was like trading celebrity sex tapes. That was a big thing back in the late 60s. All the celebrities had nice fancy cameras that nobody else could afford. So they were pretty much exclusive to Hollywood celebrities. And celebrities would go around having sex with other celebrities, celebrities and mafia members and just other people that were in the in circle. And they would set up hidden cameras. And then they would take those tapes and they would trade them among other rich people. So, like, Hugh Hefner was a big collector of celebrity sex tapes before the celebrity sex tape was a thing that we know today. We know it as like Kim Kardashian and Ray J. But back then it was like hidden camera videos that Hugh Hefner and his friends would, collect and trade and sell. And that was insider shit. Nobody else knew about that because there were no iPhones. There weren't cameras everywhere. Nowadays, Diddy whoops the shit out of his girlfriend, and oh no, there's a security camera in the hotel. Back in the day when Hugh Hefner whooped the shit out of his girlfriend in a hotel hallway, there were no cameras. Maybe somebody heard a scream from down the hall, but it was a hotel in Hollywood that was like $200,000 for a room. So the only people that were staying in the hotel were people that already knew what was going on anyways. And the Diddy stuff is crazy. I gotta change the title of the video because I talked about the Diddy thing like the most. I talked about the Diddy thing the most, and it is the one thing that's not in the title of the video. But what am I gonna do? I'm gonna get out of here. There's no chat going off tonight, so I've got no reason to stay. Nothing to keep me going. So what are we at? About an hour and 10 minutes. Looks like an hour, 8 minutes, and 37 seconds to be exact. Well, shit, right on. I'll probably be back on, I don't know, later this week. If not next week, probably next week. Depends on if I need clips for the TikTok and whatnot. But that's about it. Cynthia Erivo sucks. Theo Vaughn can do no wrong, even if he choke slams somebody in the middle of a club or a bar. The new King of the Hill, it could go either way. I'm hoping it's good. The Menendez brothers, I've got no emotional attachment to whether they get out or not. Not really worried about it. It'd be cool if they do. If they do, they'll do some. I hope they do some podcasts. Annie has been keeping up on that story pretty much the whole time, and she says it sounds like they're going to go live with some family and just kind of stay out of the limelight. So that's probably what they'll end up doing. It sounds like she's probably right about that. But I would hope they at least do a podcast or two. I can't see them not doing one. They're going to want to get out of prison and talk about their whole deal. And then, the Diddy freak-offs, it's nothing new. It's nothing new. People need to quit being surprised when they hear about celebrities doing weird shit. But I'm out. I'm going to hit the outro. I'm going to get the fuck out of here.
To groove and have a beautiful time together, and that it's only the beginning. Sometimes I think I'm drunk and then I realize I am drunk. Sometimes I think I'm drunk and then I realize I am drunk.